here. It's on. Just place it somewhere.
Just say, hi, I'm Quintessa, and this is my grandpa. And today we're going to talk about communication and problem solving and decision making things.
Okay.
Okay.
Hi, my name is Quintessa. This is my grandpa. Today we're going to talk about communication, problem solving, decision making, and creativity.
And my name is Robert Fox. I'm 78 years old. And when my granddaughter here, Quintessa, asked me if she could talk to me about uh, problem solving, decision making, and being creative, I said, sure, because I had a lifetime of that. I was 18, 19, decided to become an elementary school teacher, went to university and teachers college. And the next thing I knew, I was teaching a grade 6, 7 class, and really didn't know much about life. And so I thought, I'll just do my best and see if I survive in this profession. But I did enjoy it. I don't know why. Maybe it was my personality. I didn't consider myself being too smart. And then I think that, yeah, I think it was a few years after I was teaching grade 6 and 7, I was put into a grade 8 class, which wasn't much different. But I should tell you that at that level, um, and at that time in history, in the province of Ontario, here, Canada, I was required to. That's Quintessa's dog barking. If you hear a dog bark, anyway, I was required to stand pretty much at the front of the room, and the kids sat in desks in rows. There was no grouping or none of that stuff happened. And I taught them different subjects. And then every once in a while, I gave them a test to see whether or not they remembered anything or learned anything. And then at the end of the year, I promoted them to the next grade. That was education. I should also tell you that every teacher at that time had a set of textbooks for their level. And so I had a speller, and I had a math book, and a reader, and I had a science book, and a history, geography, environmental studies kind of book. I had all these books. And so I might say to the class, okay, today in uh, science, we're going to learn about electricity. So everybody get their science book out and turn to page 16. And Mary, back there, you stand up and read the first paragraph. So she would stand up and read, and then we'd go through the chapter that way. And then I would have them close their books, and I would use the blackboard and chalk and make notes on the board. And then they wrote them down in their book. They went home and memorized them. And at the end of the week or 2 weeks, I would give them a test and say, what did you learn about electricity, or some very specific questions to see if they learned anything. And if they did, they got usually it was a mark out of 100. So they got a like 68 out of 100. They got so many questions right. And then we changed, the education system changed to letters. They got an A, a B, or a C. And then it really didn't matter what we gave them, because they were all going to pass. Pretty much. There might have been one or two in the room that you would keep back, and they'd have to repeat the year over again. That was me and education. What do you think, Quintessa? Do you remember any of that when you were in school? Because she's in her 20s. What do you think?
Yeah, we definitely. I mean, that's how we learned.
That how you learned too?
We learned. Well, I went to a arts high school, so I feel like it was maybe a little bit more creative in the way that they taught us there. But
Well, think
for
back to
the most part, yeah, you have a textbook, you
make
go through
notes.
it, make notes, get tested on it,
Right. So,
and it's. I mean, I was thanks to the people that I was around. I always approached things creatively, anyways. Like even if they gave us a pretty like formal project, I would always kind of stretch the boundaries with how I approached it. But that I feel like was largely because of the people that I was around outside of school.
Did you have
I
computers when you were in elementary school?
Yeah, yeah, we
Right.
did.
Did everyone have one computer that was for them?
No,
No.
we had well, one of my classes did because he was, I guess, like a tech guy and he had computers for the whole class. But usually it's like we would have maybe one computer in the class, but usually we would go to a computer lab.
Okay, when you were in high school, did you have a phone?
I had a phone. I got a phone pretty late, I would say, compared to some of my friends. So I got mine, I think, middle of high school
And when
or
I say did
in
you
high
have a
school.
phone, I'm assuming that you had internet on the phone.
I think so, but
So if
like
you,
at the beginning, it wasn't so much like you would just pull up the internet. Like
right,
I think it was just rolling out smartphones at that point.
okay, so then if it was before smartphones, but you had a phone, maybe the phone worked, but it was only going to work if it was based on the school's internet connection. So like they had control over whether or not you could actually use it and actually get something on the internet, right?
I mean, if I was using the phone for schoolwork,
Yeah,
but usually I wasn't using my phone for schoolwork
right,
at
right.
school.
And so the teacher probably didn't have a problem with kids with phones because
I mean,
you weren't
they
always.
don't want you to bring your phone out.
No, right. Well, I just want to just remind everybody, even if you're not aware of this, that when I was teaching, there were no computers. Not only were there no phones, well, the phones were in the house attached to the wall with a wire, and you picked it up and said, I want to call somebody, and here's the number. You put it down, the phone rang, it was in the house. But nobody had a cell phone, nobody had anything portable, and there were no computers of any sort. So when we were trying to, let's say, problem solve, we were limited. We had only the textbook pretty much. There was a library in some schools, and it was had fiction and nonfiction books in it, but the teachers never went there, and rarely did the kids go there. They were kind of like they didn't have librarians. They were just a library there in some schools in Ontario. But we had to rely on the information from the textbooks. So you're thinking, well, who selected the textbooks for all the schools in Ontario for all the kids to use at different
Mm-hmm.
levels? That's a good question. And so, is
Do you
there?
have the answer?
Yeah, yeah, I do know the answer. You see, whoever was in charge of the government at the time had buddies out there who maybe published books, and so they helped each other. By the minister of education at the time would say, "You guys are going to use these books from this publishing company in every school in Ontario because I'm the
So
boss,
basically, telling you what to learn.
telling you what to learn because one book isn't necessarily the only right information."
Right.
But at that time, nobody questioned that, and we all did what they were supposed to do.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I don't want to get into computers too much or into cell phones too much. But before we do anything here, I think we should do an exercise. Uh, uh, we'll demonstrate. Both of us will do it. It doesn't take long. And this exercise is going to turn on both hemispheres of your brain so that you're smarter. Because when I took some courses when I was beginning to teach, but I didn't really get into the creative, really unusual kinds of um, um, uh, courses that offered me skills that I could use in the classroom with the kids until
Mm-hmm.
later on in my career, even before computers.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so I taught for at least 10 years. There were no computers. All right,
Mm-hmm.
so
And before you do this,
yeah.
what do both sides of what do
Oh,
both sides of
so
the
yeah.
brain
So you
do?
have basically you have two lobes or two hemispheres in your head. So let's put our hand on the right side of our head. Okay. Okay. That means that everything that happens, first of all, on the left side of your body is controlled by that lobe. And that lobe there, the right brain, is the creative, imaginative, musical, artistic, abstract side of your head. If you put your hand on the left side of your head, everything that happens on the right side of your body, like most kids and people today are right handed, that happens in this side of your head. That's the analytical, concrete, very systematic. This happens in this, the logical. That's that side. So you can understand then that if most people were right-handed in the school system, and still today they are, uh, it would be best to teach things very logical, break it down in details, learn the details until you get to the end, and then try to get all the details and put them together to answer your questions. And if you were left-handed like me, right, you were hanging out mainly in the right side of your head, the creative side, and the teacher didn't want me to be over there wasting my time with artistic creative thoughts
Mm.
and thinking. So she would come along and whack me with the ruler when I was a kid and say, put your pencil in the other hand. And if you find that hard, do it anyway. So I thought, oh, so anyway, I want to in today's world, as far as I'm concerned, and back a few years before I retired, I wanted the kids to use both hemispheres. So there was an exercise. There
Seems like
goes
it
a couple
makes
of
sense.
chipmunks just flew by. There was an exercise that I would use to teach the kids how to turn on the two hemispheres.
Hmm.
So what I want you to know though is that you have a shoulder here with all kinds of muscles, ligaments, tendons, and bones in it on both sides. And this shoulder here and this shoulder here has a great big muscle, right? It's called the trapezius muscle, and it sits right here. It envelops the shoulder ridge and it covers the back muscles. And it also, it's pretty wide too, it goes into your neck up to your skull and brain with all kinds of nerves and everything attached to it, both sides. So if you wanted to turn on one of those lobes, you have to sort of stimulate the nerves and the muscles somehow. So what we're going to do is we're going to use, it doesn't matter if you do the right side or the left, we're going to do both. I want you to put your hand on your shoulder there and use the palm of it to push into the muscle, the trapezius, and use the finger pads to squeeze the trapezius from the back. So basically you're squeezing the top of your shoulder. And then as you squeeze, and everybody's, at a different level when it comes to pain and bruising and all the rest of it. So you're squeezing at your level for your shoulder. But anyway, as you're squeezing, take your head slowly and turn it away from the squeeze and hold it there for a few seconds. You could hold it for 10, 15, 20 seconds, but for the sake of this video, let's slowly come back to center and look into the squeeze. And then slowly come back to center after you hold it for a while and look up, high up as you can look, head back. And then after, a few seconds or so, minutes, look down, put your chin on your chest. Good. And then we've turned on this side of our brain. Let's put our hand on the other shoulder. Give it a good squeeze. And you can do it in any order. Let's look down first for a while, depending on how much time you have and how smart you want to be. And then look up, back to neutral in the middle, and look away maybe. And then back to neutral and look into the squeeze and hold it there. If you find that you have stiffness going on, it's probably your posture. You need to work on your posture too so that your joints all work properly, especially your neck, because you have a great big nerve called the vagus nerve coming out of your head and traveling all the way down through your body, upper body, every organ, everything. It's going to that. And then it stops here in your low back, lumbar area. Okay. And then the sciatic nerve takes over and spreads down through your legs to the bottom of your feet. So those two nerves, giant nerves, very important. There's lots of different nerves in your body, but those are the two main ones. Anyway, so now your brain is working better. So I guess we're here to talk about problem solving, decision making, and being creative.
Hmm.
And I'll tell you why we're talking about that, as far as I'm concerned. Because I had a little conversation with my granddaughter Quintessa here a few times, and I was trying to explain to her what I learned about learning and education and communication over the years that I was a teacher and all the courses I took and the university stuff and everything else. And I found out that what we really want to teach people, especially kids, is to be great problem solvers, to be able to make decisions and the best decisions they can, and not take too much time to make those decisions because life's flying by, and then use creativity when you're doing it. So I want to just say that what do you think, Quintessa? What is the definition, say a Oxford Dictionary definition of uh, problem solving? What is problem solving?
Your ability to assess a situation and I guess determine what is necessary to move forward from there.
Okay, so of course, just to get it right from the Oxford Dictionary, I wrote down what they said. Problem solving. It's a process of achieving a goal by overcoming obstacles. These problems could be simple tasks or complicated tasks. So that's pretty much what you said. Okay, what is creativity?
I would say your ability to be adaptable, to be open-minded and adaptable, to basically, yeah, probably to be adaptable.
All right, so the Oxford Dictionary says creativity is the ability to make or bring about change that's valuable and new. Okay, what do you think about decision making? What's that?
Decision making, to choose a path, to choose a course of action.
Okay, they say decision making is a solution or a belief or a course of action. It could be rational, sorry, or and sensible, or it could be abstract and irrational.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. So you could get into long and lengthy discussions about whether there's a God or what's right and wrong or up or down, and you might go around in circles, right? Because it's not, you can't put your hand on that. You have to just think with your brain, and it might take a long time. But if it was very, very, very concrete, you should be able to figure it out faster because you can see it, hear it, taste it, all the senses. So we're going to talk about that, and we already have started to talk about that. But before we get into some of the other stuff I want to share with you about those three things, I'm going to give Quintessa a
Well,
piece of paper. It's got
I
nothing
think
on it.
they all kind of go together
They do all
in
go
a
together.
sense where you're always trying to move towards what is true, what is more real. Like you're always like in terms of decision, especially decision making, problem solving. You're assuming you want to solve the problem, not just like how a lot of solutions would just kind of temporarily put a band-aid on something. You want to actually solve it, which means like
Yeah, well,
addressing genuinely addressing the root of the issue.
yeah. So
And not that it wouldn't move in steps.
picture me standing in front of 30 students who
Yeah.
are in grade 8 or 7 or whatever,
Mm-hmm.
and my job is to educate them,
Yeah.
whatever that means, teach them something,
To,
have them learn something,
which would be moving
right?
towards greater truth.
Right, which would be doing exactly that. But besides the textbook being my only resource, and me and what I know as a young teacher, not much, not many life experiences. I had some, of course. I was in my early 20s, but not much. I had, and I told the kids what I looked at the curriculum and said, we're going to learn about electricity, you
Mm-hmm.
know. So like I made lots of decisions for them, and then I just asked them to basically memorize and regurgitate, and then I put
Mm-hmm.
them on to the next grade. I wasn't teaching them really too many decision making or problem solving skills, and I wasn't allowing them to be creative because that's really quite abstract. It's not only abstract. Creativity is threatening to people who are ignorant, and by
Mm-hmm.
ignorant I don't mean a bad ignorant. I mean an ignorant in that they don't know,
Mm-hmm.
right? So I believe that everybody needs, first of all, everybody needs lots and lots of education at primary, intermediate and senior kinds of education,
I mean,
and free.
yeah, you have. Well, you have. You're like again. That's like using a textbook is sort of saying that your learning experience it's similar to saying that your learning experience only happens in a classroom
right.
when we're always learning. We're
Yeah.
always
Always learning.
learning in our families, in our environments, in every experience of our life. Like our life is a learning
Right.
experience, meaning that your ability to learn something or the resource that you are getting for learning something cannot be limited to this textbook. It can't even really be limited to the teacher. That's why I wanted to have this conversation, because you're showing the importance of not just teaching people what to think, but teaching people how to think
Right.
so that they can be self-sufficient as they move about life and be able to use these things like creativity, problem solving in their day-to-day experience.
But as long as everybody out there understands, and maybe I'm sure you do out there, that we're evolving as life things on this planet, which is a life thing too. In a unit, we're evolving, we're changing, and people don't like. At least my experience is, I shouldn't generalize, but from my experience, people don't like change. We teach
It's
them that change is risky, and you just don't want to. It might have more bad than good, so let's stay away from it.
it's uncomfortable, but this is
Uncomfortable is a good word.
this is what I mean by, like, I mean, I'm not going to get too much into a philosophical thing, but like, I believe that moving towards truth, more truth, is synonymous with moving towards more good.
And let me just jump in and say, I agree with that too. But I want you to know that when you're in the school system, there's lots of restrictions and rules, and the poor student can't can't be creative, can't be a problem solver, and can't be a decision maker to much degree. So they have to do what the school says. Now that was when I was starting out. As soon as the computer came into the classroom, 10 years after I started, and as soon as it got so popular that every kid had one, and as soon as there was a lab, and as soon as there were educated teachers that knew how to use the software on the computer, oh my goodness, did education and learning change.
Mm.
It changed so much that, first of all, it wasn't traditional anymore. If you went to teachers college 10 years after I started, they would hopefully, the people in charge there would be teaching you things that you'd think would never happen in a classroom. For example, for example, once all that started, uh, there was a lady in the United States. Her name was Nancy Atwell, Atwell, Nancy Atwell, and she wrote a book um, all about how to teach English. Reading and writing. How do you do that? And then when I went to listen to her talk with, I think there were 10,000 people in the auditorium in the United States, and I was asked by my school board and my principal, we'll pay for you to go there, go and listen to this lady talk and see what she says. She basically said was, the book that I'm going to give you today, you're all getting a free copy too, and you can tell everybody else to buy it who's in education and not in education, will teach you how to learn anything. It doesn't have to be reading and writing. I thought, I'm sitting up, I'm listening.
Mm.
So she gave us some very practical things that we could do. There's the chipmunks again. And so when I got back to my school and shared what I knew with my principal and the other staff in the school, some of the teachers were reluctant to do the change that this lady said was important so that we could be problem solvers, decision makers, and risk takers, and be very, very creative.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, One of them was, when the kids in September were about to come into my classroom, I made them line up outside the door, and I had nothing in the room. I had no books, no pencils, no whiteboards, no chairs, no tables, no anything in the room. Just the floor and the windows and the walls. And I told the kids that I had made a circle on the floor, and I wanted them to, if they didn't know what a circle was, I would tell them before they went in the room. But I wanted them to go in and sit on the circle and face the center. And then if they were quiet, I would know they were ready for the next step. So I said, do you
Mm-hmm.
understand? They all stood out in the hall and scratched their heads and went, I don't know what's with this teacher. He's really weird, but okay, sure. So they went in. These were grade teenagers, right? And, hormonal time. So they
I
went in and sat down, and then the rest is history.
I feel like that sets up a perfect environment. I wouldn't say like it's not like you have to, have nothing in the room to be creative, but it sets up the perfect environment in which you can no longer rely on the traditional things in order to create something, and you have to rely on only what you have. And then you realize that all you really need to have is yourself and your ability to be creative.
And
Or,
others.
well, yeah, like
Well, you know what, Quintessa? What happened was I went and sat in the circle too.
mm-hmm.
So I wasn't the traditional teacher standing at the front of the room.
Right,
I
you
sat in
put
the
you
circle.
put it
We were all
you made it
equal.
you made an equal playing
Yes,
field.
but I had to say to the kids, so I think one girl said to me once, "Why are you sitting in the circle with us?" And I said, "I just want you to know that I am the teacher.
Mm-hmm.
You can think of me as a resource teacher
Mm-hmm.
if you want. Um, a facilitator would be a better word.
Yeah,
I'm trying to facilitate your learning."
right.
I said, "So I want you to go from where you are now, I've got a year with you, to where I can get you, depending on your
Mm-hmm.
potential. And then you can move on and somebody else will try to do it, and so on. You're going to pass anyway." All right. So, but I said to them, but I'm also responsible to your parents. I have to write a report on you to
Mm-hmm.
tell your parents how you're doing. So I'm ultimately the boss.
Mm-hmm.
I'm the referee. I'm the boss. And I want everybody to have a great opportunity to learn, so no funny business will go on in this room. In other words, you don't talk when I'm talking, and I don't talk when you're talking. And
Mm-hmm.
we'll figure out how to do that so everybody gets a chance. But our first problem is what? And they said, "What are we going to do? Sit on the floor for the whole year?" I said, "You mean to tell me you'd like a chair?" I said, "I need a recorder. I need something." I just happened to bring a scrap piece of paper with me and a pen. So I gave it to, say it was Quintessa, and said, "Quintessa, you make notes, because I have a feeling we're going to have a lot of things that we're going to talk about here, and some of them we're going to maybe want to remember."
Mm-hmm.
So the student made a list to start with of what they wanted in the classroom, and they said things like furniture and books,
Mm-hmm.
you know, and stuff like that. So I
Mm-hmm.
thought, okay. So we did it, and then we decided, as so you can see, we were problem solving right off the bat.
Mm-hmm.
And I like the idea, the Nancy Atwell's philosophy, that remember, you have to respect everybody, no matter what their age, and for where they're at when it comes to being smart or not smart, what they know and what they don't know. And you can't make fun of them, and you have to be,
Everyone deserves
yeah.
equal respect
Yeah, like
all the time.
respect and stuff.
That's
I mean,
non-negotiable.
like
Yeah.
before any of this happened, the principal would just assume that the kids knew what respect was, and that
Mm-hmm.
they knew how to handle it,
Mm-hmm.
and they did it. And when they didn't, he gave them the strap or sent them home and expelled them or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But not in that world. No, 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 no. So we started with that, and I tried to. That was problem solving at its best, and it happened in everything that we did.
So do you feel like that created an environment in which the students respected each other more
Not only
because they had
that,
to work
not
together?
only that, I remember. Um, there's so many things we could talk about today, but I remember when it came to reading,
Mm-hmm.
I had learned a lot from that book too, and other places, about how to make kids love information.
Mm-hmm.
And it didn't have to be a fictional book, a novel. It could be any kind of reading,
Mm-hmm.
for them to learn. And I remember I told them, you guys, if you want to be smarter and happier and more successful, and maybe have more money than you expect to have, you might want to do a lot of reading, because reading is, whether you use a computer, the internet, or a book or whatever, reading is a source of getting information. And then once you get the information, you can sort it all out and use your values and your morals to decide what information you want to keep, and then that'll be you and your personality through life. So I remember one of the parents called me. I think it was just before Christmas, when they got their first report card, and she said to me, "I don't know what you're doing in that classroom, but my son, a grade 7 hormonal boy, He gets up every morning at 6 o'clock and reads in his room. I don't know what he's reading, but he's reading something till 8. And then I feed him breakfast and goes to school. I just think that's wonderful. Before that, he just hated reading. He not only hated reading, he hated school, and he loves to go. And I thought,
Mm-hmm.
yes, Nancy Atwell knew what she was talking about. I'm doing the right thing. So that allowed my brain, because remember I told you I'm left-handed, so I'm in the right side of my head most of the time, unless I do the owl exercise. And I'm always holistically, creatively, imaginative, abstract thinking all the time. And I need to be balanced in every part of my life for me to be healthy and live a long time and be happy.
Mm-hmm.
So I practice both sides of my head. And one thing I did with the kids a lot was a lot of reading and writing, a lot of it. And so what I want Quintessa to do, and problem solving. So what I
Mm-hmm.
want Quintessa to do with
Wait,
her,
before we switch on the
yeah,
topic,
with her paper.
reading, like, the amount of information that we have nowadays with the computers and stuff, that I feel like would highlight the importance of, again, critical thinking and needing to know how to think and be able to take in that much information and decide, not only like, sure, you can hold it up to your values and be like, okay, well, this is interesting to me, I want to keep it, but also, again, like, what is actually accurate. And it's difficult for people to decipher, again, and that's why there's so much like misinformation in
Do
today's
you
day and
have a
age.
YouTube channel, Quintessa?
Well, I help with this YouTube channel.
No, but any other kind of YouTube channel?
I have my music channel
You
at
have
the
a
moment.
music
At the
YouTube
moment,
channel.
yeah.
And if you don't know what YouTube is, it's just a format on the internet that allows you to make a video or a movie and put it onto your channel and the world can see it. So you have such a thing
Yeah,
with music,
yeah.
right? Why?
To share. To
Why do you
share.
want to share that?
Because I created it. I
Do,
feel,
do you want to make any money from it?
I mean, that's not the primary.
No, but that maybe not the primary reason, but would it be nice to get paid for that?
I would like people to enjoy it, and whatever comes from that. Like, I don't really think about that, to be
No,
honest.
but I think there are people out there that even
It
today
would be nice
to get money
to make
for
a
it and like
living
it.
off
Yeah,
of the
like
thing that you love to
if
do,
lots and lots of people
but I
enjoy,
want it to help people
right? You want it to
mainly.
help people. You want them to learn something. It's just another way to of information dissemination. You just want
Hmm.
people to enjoy it, and if they enjoy it, they're going to watch it more and learn more. So that's what the internet's about today. All kinds of people presenting words, pictures, and videos about everything and hoping that people will like it so that they'll look at it more and learn more and be smarter and the planet will last longer. So, by the way, I didn't know what YouTube was until about, I guess it's been about 10 years, when my grandson said, I'm going to make a YouTube channel and that's going to be my occupation in my life. And he was in his 20s, just finishing university, maybe 22 or something. And I said to him, what is a YouTube channel? And he told me. I thought, oh, I have lots to say. I want people to know what I've learned, and I would like a few bucks. So I made a YouTube channel, and I made five of them, one on learning and education, one on cooking, and one on exercise, etc. So I have five YouTube channels. But what I wanted to say about the piece of paper was we're problem solving right now. We're making decisions whether we know it or not, and we're being creative, but that's really, really, you know, risque. So I know how to be creative a little bit, and but I sometimes back away from that. So I think that's the hardest of all the rest. You're going to always have to make decisions. You're going to have to problem solve to make those decisions, which means you have to gather a lot of information. First of all, you have to have a problem. Then you got to gather the information. You got to sort through the information. And then you got to decide what path you're going to take with what you know, and that's called your your solution to the thing. And then hope because you made that answer to your problem or followed it, that everything will turn out best for you. But I want to show you this thing here. It's just a piece of paper. We talk a lot, both of us do. It's rectangular and it happens to be white. It doesn't have to be white. So I just want Quintessa to do what I do. Fold it in half. I don't care what way you fold it, just make sure you fold it into two distinct parts. and really crease it so that when you fold it, it's really well creased. In fact, I'm going to open it up again and go, hey, there's one rectangle there and one there, and they're both equal in size. I'm going to fold it in half again the other way just to make the crease really, really a good crease. Okay. Now I'm going to fold it in half a second time and crease it. And do I do this little paper exercise with the kids that I taught all the time? Let me open that again and fold it in half again the other way just to make sure the crease is really a good crease. Notice I don't have any scissors with me or pencils or anything just yet. Good. Then I'm going to fold it in half one more time. So you're going to take that rectangular 8.5 by 11 piece of paper that you use in your printers and everything else, and you're going to fold it in half 3 times. So I'll fold it in half again. It's still rectangular, and I'm going to open it and fold that one back the other way so it's nicely creased. And then I'm going to open the whole thing up and count the number of rectangles I have in front of me. How many are there, Quintessa?
Just 8.
8. So what I want to do now is I want to take this paper and I want to rip it. If you had scissors, you could use that. It's faster and easier and more efficient. But I'm going to rip it, and I don't want to rip the thing in half. I want to rip it through 2 of the squares. So if I rip it this way through 2 of the squares, it goes apart. I don't want it to go apart. If I rip it vertical this way from there down to there, it'll just be a hole in the paper. So to do that, I'm going to fold it like a tent. There's a tent, and then I'm going to grab right in the middle the crease and go down the crease to there, and then open it up. Yep, I didn't fold the whole thing in half, and I've got a crack in the middle. Now I want you to pretend that this is a tent, and it needs heat to be comfortable, so you put a little fire in the tent here, and the smoke goes out through the top. So you grab it like that, there's the smoke coming out through the top, and you push it together like an accordion, and you end up having a book.
Repeat that
Let me
step.
show her again. So here we are. The thing's folded in half, right? It's well creased.
Mm-hmm.
Smoke's coming out through, and now I just get it, and it's like, hey, it's gonna, if
Yeah.
it's creased well, it works well. So I'm just gonna push it together, and I end up with a book.
Like this.
So let me give her mine, and I'll take hers. And let's see if she's got it creased well. Yeah, pretty good. So there's the smoke, and push it together, and there's her book. Okay. So you have how many pages in the book?
8.
8. There were 8 rectangles. You got 8 pages. So what I would say to the kids is, on the front of the book, with your pencil or pen, or I don't care what you write with marker, I want you to put the title or the topic of what's inside the book. So what you're going to put in here are ways. Your title would be something like how to be a better communicator, problem solver, risk taker, or creative thinker. A lot of stuff, right? Or if you could just capsulize that into one word or something, you could use maybe the word smart. I like to be smart. Whoops, smart. So let's just say we'll call it smart. So now you can have a tool. Just put smart on there. I should tell you too, though, smart. When I first gave a group of grade 8 students the task of taking the paper and folding it and turning it into a book, I showed them how to do it. They watched. So the visual learners had no problems understanding.
Mm-hmm.
The auditory learners listened to me talk and watched. They were trying to sort out what the words were. If I used the right words to communicate to them, they had no problems understanding,
Mm-hmm.
right? And the kinesthetic learners, the people who learn with their hands, they wanted the paper. They were going, well, give me the paper so I can try it. Stop talking. Stop showing me the paper. Okay, because you can be auditory, visual, or kinesthetic when it comes to taking information in and sorting it all out.
Mm-hmm.
But wouldn't it be nice to be all 3 of them?
Yeah.
So the
Just like it
kid,
would be nice to use both sides of your
yeah, it's
brain.
both sides of your head too. So the kinesthetic people, believe it or not, have to see things and hear things, but they get to touch things. So if the teacher's standing at the front of the room and somebody's reading out of the textbook, right? It's visual. Everybody in the classroom is seeing the book, the page. Everybody's hearing the words, and everybody's holding on to a book. Good for the teacher. So back in the olden days of learning, it wasn't that bad. These educators did know something about the brain and how people evolve. So, but in today's world, it's very a creative environment in that classroom. And if you don't go to the school and you just homeschool or you stay at home and out of the system, like Quintessa, did you go to university?
For a bit.
A little bit, right? Do you think that it's valuable that everybody stay in university until they're done?
No.
No, I don't either. I think that you can be,
I mean, you can if you
you
want.
could if you want, but I think that depending on your personality and what you want out of life, you could always try it without the system and still be all these great things.
I think
This is
if you're able to do
yeah,
the things like creative think, critical
yeah,
think, all of those
yeah,
things, then and you're self motivated,
right.
all of these
What do
things, you
you
take
need it for?
initiative, then you can.
Right.
But university does allow a lot of people to have those sort of like those
Parameters,
yeah, the guardrails kind of
guardrail,
being like,
structure.
yeah, a little bit of
And
structure.
what they will do in today's world still is not allow you to get a job or move up the ladder in your field unless you have those papers that say you got the degree and that you stayed in school
I
for
mean,
that many years.
they're changing that.
I know they're
Like,
changing it and I think they should, but it's taking a while. So you
yeah,
and by the way, if you
that's
wanted
again,
to
change is
like
difficult
if
for
you wanted
people.
to stay in high school till the end of grade 12 in Ontario, that's the end of high school, just to please your parents, and then not go to university and try something some other way. And then maybe you might want to go back to post secondary education and go to university when you're 50. There's nothing wrong with any of that. But back to our little book here, we're trying to keep track of what we've learned so far, and we're going to put it on each of these pages, but we're not going to put all the stuff down. We're just going to put the important things down. So I don't know what Quintessa, just get, we're not going to go through the whole thing, Quintessa, because we don't have time, but can you think of one thing that you've learned so far from listening to me anyway? I know you know lots on your own, but you invited me to talk and talk about this. So what have you learned today that you didn't know before? One thing.
A nice exercise to bounce the brain.
So it's called the owl. So just put on page one, which would be the first one inside, just put the word owl. Okay. Now, what she could do if she really wanted to is she could draw a picture of an owl. So she,
I do like
yeah,
drawing little
she could
pictures
add
to
colors
represent.
to it.
Yeah.
And if it was a computer book, she could sing into it or talk into it or.
The
You need,
more it seems like the more you add to making
yeah,
it concrete in your.
right. And you know what? I wouldn't do this if I was young and in today's world. I would use my computer or my phone especially, and I would make my little book, my 8-page book, to summarize things. That's how I would do it. In fact, even though I'm 78 and I'm really 77, but I like 78 better, um, what I like to do is when I go to bed at night, my wife has beside me the newspaper, and I know some of you people don't know what that is, but it's just paper with words and pictures on it. She's reading away, especially the New York Times. She likes that paper, so she's reading the New York Times. Not me. I'm there with my phone, and I'm pushing buttons and listening to videos, and I'm watching pictures and stuff. And what am I doing? I'm learning something that I didn't learn during the day. Or expanding on what I started to learn during the day. I'm trying to fill up my brain with as much stuff as I can possibly do.
Mm-hmm.
And I've learned through research, and especially using the phone and the internet, that if I want to not get dementia of some sort or Alzheimer's, when your brain falls apart, I need to keep being creative, problem solving, decision making. I need to do that. And then my brain will be healthy and I'll be able to walk better and enjoy life more because my brain works and all
Mm-hmm.
the nerves that are attached to it. So anyway, I would get the kids to, no matter, say it was electricity, I would get the kids to try to help, you know, not in the olden days, but in the new days, uh, when we had computers, etc., and phones, I would get them to try to help me summarize what they learned.
Mm.
Like right now, I teach fitness at the local YMCA, and today I worked with an 89-year-old lady. All right. And so she's walking very slowly. She's afraid she's going to fall over. But you know what? I asked her about her life, and she had a really interesting life, and it was jam packed with all kinds of challenges and problems.
Mhm.
And she has no signs of dementia at all. But what I do with her is after I show her an exercise, then I say to her, now, what did we just do? Tell me what you remember about what I just showed you and what we've actually used our bodies to do. Tell me, let's review. So, and so she does, it helps her brain. And this is what this does, or whether you use a computer or not to do that.
I mean,
Okay?
yeah, it's both. It's you're giving them sort of like a chance to not just, I guess it's some similar to like when you learn something in a textbook and it's like give it back to me, like regurgitate it back to me, but in a less formal way, just kind of like, can you teach me what you learned?
Oh, I should tell you
Like,
this too. You made me think of something. When I had the grade eights in front of me with the pieces of paper and they were watching, and then I gave them all a piece of paper and told them to do it,
mm-hmm,
I noticed that the boys, now you have to think about what I've said so far about the brain and the body and learning. The boys couldn't do it
mm,
for the most part. The girls could. And then I said to them, before you leave, I just want you to know that don't come to class tomorrow unless you got the book folded. It's got to be folded properly.
mm-hmm,
All right. And I don't care if you use scissors or scotch tape, but make sure you come with the book folded. And otherwise, don't come. So what they did immediately before they left the room, these are grade A boys, is they turned to their girlfriends or the girls in the room and said, can you do this for me, please? And they did it. The girls did it, and they were done. Problem solving, right? Decision making, creative thinking, all happening right there.
resourceful.
And the resource, they didn't even know it was happening. But so we don't go on here too long, I just want to tell you that because I was a teacher and I was using books, with paper and words and pictures, I really discovered picture books, which are designed for anybody, say, 8 and under. So anybody between maybe 2, 3, 4, maybe 1 up to 8 would probably enjoy a picture book. And picture books are mainly pictures with a few words. And the authors and illustrators that know how to put these books together and who are really smart and know how to appeal to the audience out there, any age, by the way, they use more pictures and colors than they do words. And the words that they do use, they make the text really big, and they very creatively and in a smart way decide where they're going to put the words. Like, this isn't just put the words on the page and draw the pictures. These people are problem solvers, decision makers, and creative thinkers, the people who make these, if it turns out to be successful. And it can be about any topic at all. So I collect these after I retired because at one point I was a library resource teacher, and I ran the computer lab and the library because remember, they took all the textbooks away from the teachers and put the textbooks plus all kinds of other books and resources, plus they gave me as the teacher librarian money to buy stuff for the whole school from kindergarten to grade 8 into a big beautiful room called the library, and then threw the computers in there too, which everybody wanted to use, and said, there, that's your job, you run that. So the teachers would run down to me in the summer and say, I have to teach grade 4 and science and this or everything, and this is my curriculum from the Ministry of Education, the government, and I have to teach this. What do I need? How do I do it? And what do I need? What have you got?
Mm-hmm.
And I said, remember, we've only got so much in the room. We're all going to share and learn how to share and return stuff in good shape and not hoard anything. And you as a teacher have to think that way too. And maybe you want to bring the kids in on a regular basis so we can show them how the whole thing works. Even computers, bring them to the computer lab and I'll show them how it works. You too. So education changed completely, but when I retired, started to look for these books that were the most powerful in my 35 years in the classroom. And whenever I saw one, it's hard to find the books that you used 35 years ago. Um, I would buy it. And most of them, this book, they charged me how much, Quintessa? It says on the front.
50 cents.
50 cents for this. It's brand
50
new. It's
cents.
not hardcover, but I have a collection of over 100 of these great stories. And why do I have them? For two reasons. I'm saving them for my grandchildren. Hopefully, my granddaughter here will have children, and my two grandsons will have children. I'm saving them for them so I can give them to them. And I put a little one of those little library boxes out by my curb in front of my house, and I have a big sign saying free books. And then I put a bunch of them in there every week, and I watch to see what happens. And parents come along with their kids. They stop. They sit on the rocks out there. They take the books out. The parents read to them. Some of the parents don't. The kids just look through the books. They keep the ones that they like, and down the street they go. And I have regular customers, and I've had it there for 2 years. And I have parents that say, "We have to come to your library here at the curb because my kid says we've got to go there today." And then to torture them even more, I put free toys out there too and say, take the toys too. And I love dinosaurs and history and science. So I get the nicest dinosaurs I can find and I put them out there. And I put dinosaur books out there too sometimes. But they take the toys too, reluctantly. I just want to show you this real quick. This book here, it's called Jonathan and His Mommy. And it says on the first page, I like to go walking and talking with my mom. Okay, walking and talking. Well, I teach fitness to old people. I want them to live a long, happy life. And one of the exercises that I teach them is walking properly with good posture. First, we zigzag down the street. It looks strange to the people we meet. So they're zigzagging. Well, if you walk properly and you zigzag, you're turning on different muscles, which is good, and burning more calories, and you won't fall down quite as soon as the person over there who's sitting watching TV and eating the wrong foods. So the whole book talks about all the different ways that you can move, especially walking. And I thought, perfect. It's going to be a video and it's going to go on my exercise channel. And then I'm going to keep it for my grandchildren because it's just too good to put to the curb, even though I do give a lot of good ones at the curb. And sometimes when I get a duplicate, it goes to the curb. That one.
You think picture books are as effect
Invaluable.
so as effective, well,
As
more effective than
a
like
video,
in communicating a message than
then a video or a
I don't know, like a novel or a big
oh,
textbook.
well, remember, these are designed for up to 8 years old. Maybe the kid pops out of the womb and the mother and father or whatever, the caretaker, starts to read to them. Maybe the person who's in charge of that baby is reading to them before they're born. Oh, that's all good. Because if I'm reading something and I feel good about it, my body will transmit that into the baby.
They
Anyway,
usually have
but
very,
what happened
wholesome
originally, what
messages.
happened with this was I made a story time channel,
Hmm.
and I took each book and I presented it on camera like this. I made 400 of them, 400 videos, and put them on the channel. And then I thought, that's all good, and I got lots of good feedback for that. But I thought, yeah, I think I'd like to give them away too, because just holding on to this thing is that
Yeah,
kinesthetic way
share
to learn.
share the.
It's kinesthetic more than just watching the TV
Hmm.
or the video. But I think we've talked enough about this because now my daughter's sitting over there and she's thinking, you guys talk too much. I think
I don't know. I kind of want to.
you got any questions
Well,
before
I
we
want
wrap
to
it
know
up?
what that other book is about,
Well,
and I also wanted you to talk about open space technology.
yeah, I will mention that. No, the other book's just another book about movement. It's called Flow, Spin, and Grow, looking for patterns in nature.
Hmm.
So not only do we as humans move about the planet, but all kinds of creatures that are alive, including the plant life, the flora and the fauna move, but the plant life, the flora, it moves too. And then we've got all these microscopic things happening around us, below us, and on us that are moving. And there's more of those creatures alive than there are of these things that you can see, like
Hmm.
dogs and cats and giraffes and people.
In the cosmos beyond us.
Yeah, the Cosmo Beyond Us. Is that the name of the video that's out there now?
What
The
video?
Cosmos Beyond. You don't know about the video?
What
We'll
video? Is
put
there
the
one video?
Yes, we'll put it's not me. It's a very, very, very smart scientist who made this video. And by smart, you'll find out as soon as you see it. We'll put the link at the bottom of this video, at the end of this video, so you, if you want, you can be mesmerized and tantalized even to a greater degree by just pushing that link and watching what this man's going to talk to you about when it comes to all
Cosmos
that
beyond
stuff
us.
happening.
Okay, well, um,
Oh, what did you say? Open space
yeah,
technology?
because like you mentioned how how the way that people taught and the way that people were learning when you were teaching for the majority of it completely changed, and then it changed back.
Yes.
And so during that innovative time of learning, what did you learn about?
Well,
Like what?
first of all, I want to say that I know it changed back because they closed the libraries. They didn't close the doors so none of the students and teachers could get into the room where the resources were. They
Mm-hmm.
just took the teacher out of the equation
Right.
and said, now we'll put a somebody who's not getting paid much just to monitor the room and make sure everything's clean and tidy.
But just in terms of like even like the formality of learning, like it's not that again we
Well,
can
let me
use
just yeah, but let me.
desks
I just
and
want to say though
textbooks and
that the
stuff,
so
but
the if you offer another human, especially, I'm sure it would work with animals too of every kind. But if you offered an opportunity to do something differently, and it has more positive, you know, feedback for that creature, then
mm-hmm,
they're gonna do that whether you like it or not. It won't matter what the school does with the libraries of
mm-hmm,
the past. The
mm-hmm,
kids are now in the classroom sitting there with computers and phones,
mm-hmm,
and they're thinking differently, so the teacher has to adapt to that, otherwise the teacher's not going to last. Yeah,
absolutely.
so that's what's happening. But the open space technology, I won't go through the whole thing, but you can look it up on the internet. Just look up open space technology and you'll get a great explanation of it. And it basically just takes a bunch of people that want to be there. So those
That's
who,
key.
yes, those who come to whatever you're offering, even the kids in the classroom. Like if I'm put into Mr. Fox's class in grade 7 or 10 or whatever it is, and I don't want to be there, I'm going to create a stink and get moved to somebody else's class. My parents will help me do that, and it'll happen. But in today's world, but if you offer something that you think will help people and you follow all those moral rules and behavior rules and be nice and listen and all the rest of it, then they will want to come and they'll come and they won't miss. So those people who come are the right people. That's open space technology pillar number one. The people who come are the right people.
Got to be willing.
Right. Number two, if you come to something and you've learned enough that day for whatever reason, got other reasons to not learn anymore in that environment, then you leave. Wouldn't it be nice if you could go to a classroom in today's world and sit down and learn, and then when you had enough, leave instead of sitting there talking
You
to your
have
friends and creating a problem?
you have freedom,
Yes,
and again that plays on the pillar number one because
right,
it's ensuring that you want to be there.
right. So I call that one, that pillar, it's over when it's over. Right? And then the third one for open space technology is that you are responsible. Now, you
Mm-hmm.
can't, it's hard to say, and the teacher isn't, or the friend isn't. You can't say to the little kid, you're responsible. So if you fail, it's your problem. Or if you don't pass the test, it's your problem. Well, that's really true. But you wouldn't do that until the kid was smart enough, and by that I mean all the brain cells in his or her head were up to snuff, which usually happens around the age of 10.
Yeah.
So up to the age around the age of 10, you could say to the student, whoever it is, you're responsible for your own learning. That's pillar number three. You're responsible for your own learning. So when the people come to my fitness class, I say to them, remember, you came. Congratulations. You're the right people. Number two, when you've had enough, just leave. I won't be upset. And number three, you're responsible for what happens to you. So if you learn what I teach you and then you go home and you never practice it and you come back next week expecting to learn something else, what about the stuff I taught you the week before?
Mm-hmm.
You better go home and practice it because you're responsible if you want anything to
Mm-hmm.
change.
And I think that environment again is likely the most effective way of learning, just
Yeah.
in a sense that it is number one empowering to people. It ensures that whatever energy is going to be in the room to facilitate the learning is all moving in the direction of the same goal. Like no one's going, I don't want I just they're thinking about other things. Like they want to be there, they're enthusiastic about it in the sense that they're willing to
Well,
learn,
you
like
know
they're
what?
wanting to learn. And also
Yeah.
just also it creates a sense of this is sort of going back to what you talked about at the beginning, just in terms of why you were sitting in the circle with everyone to show that you are all equal. Like, yes, you are there to sort of keep everything in check, but the sense of equality so that, because a lot of people may feel intimidated, like students, for example, if they have an idea and that isn't in the textbook yet, if they have a creative thought and they have something innovative, to even say that because they're like, well, maybe I'll sound stupid, maybe I'm not allowed to say that. But if they feel like, you're actually there not just to tell them what to do, but to allow their mind to actually flourish, then it creates an environment in which those sparks of insight can actually grow and develop. And I think that those are the two. Like you want to feel empowered, and you want to feel, I guess, valued.
Yeah, I hope people watch this video of all ages and all cultures. I hope they watch it and get something out of it because at least as far as I'm concerned, I had a powerful experience as a teacher for 35 years. And I learned so much. And now that I'm 78, I'm still learning and still trying to problem solve and be creative. And I should tell you, maybe before we close here, maybe we should do another video sometime on improv drama,
I would love to.
improv,
Yeah.
and maybe we could do one on air bands.
What's that?
That's when you perform a song
Oh, like
where you don't really sing it and you don't really play the instruments. It's all done. You
yeah.
hear it, and the real
Hmm.
people who made it, you hear them, but you
The
perform it.
importance of play.
The importance of play, we could call it that. Yeah, yeah,
Yes,
yeah.
totally. We'll play some games. The games you were telling me
We
about.
could play those games. I'm sure
Yeah.
those people would love them, and they would make their life a lot more positive and more fun.
Yeah, because
It
he was
would.
he was telling me about some games that he plays with his seniors workout class. But I was like, I would like to play those. I
Now,
think anyone would like to play those.
yeah,
Kids play those.
one more thing before we say goodbye. If this computer, which is a little phone, a little iPhone sitting on a stand here that you guys can't see, if it did, we practiced it before, like the sound and stuff, and it worked.
We
But if
hope.
this didn't work, because the sound didn't come out, then you're going to have to remember everything I said because I'm not
I'm gonna
doing it
dub
anymore.
it
You're
over.
going to have to dub
I'll
it.
I'll speak over.
Okay.
I'll speak over top.
Thank you for your information.
Yeah,
And
thank you for the conversation. It was great.
right,
This is the first of many longer form
let's
chats.
see what happens. See if we get
Yeah.
anybody watching and commenting and hitting subscribe
Okay.
wherever you're going to put it.
All right. Please hit subscribe so we can continue.
Okay. Shut. Stop.